time, okay, that I would want this person to lift up their area of responsibility to match the level of access I'd given them so much. So I decided to put a boundary on them. And when you try to put a boundary on somebody, you're using external pressure to try to create an internal change. And we all know if that person is unwilling or incapable of making that change for themselves, you can create temporary behavior modification, but you're not going to really have them become more responsible with the access you've given them. It's kind of like today if one of you had a cardiac event. Now,
why are you looking at me?
We're not going to have a cardiac event. But what would we all do? We would do CPR, right? And using external pressure, we could keep you alive. We could sustain your life for a little while until the professionals came in and helped. But at some point, if your heart does not start beating on its own, I could not sustain your life using external pressure. I mean, you wouldn't see us walking around this place today, me doing chest compressions and think, wow, that's a healthy dynamic, you know? And so instead of putting a boundary to try to force someone else to change on that person, we have to put a boundary around ourselves and be self-controlled enough to reduce the level of access down to the level of responsibility that that person is demonstrating.
There's so much here, Lisa, and I'm wondering, where does love fit into this picture? Kind of going back to what Jim was saying, because if I have a boundary and it gets transgressed, well, love says to overlook the transgression, or does it?
Well, good question. God's really clear about what love is. And I think sometimes, like I said before, we confuse the good command to love with some bad behaviors of people pleasing and, trying to enable someone or even step in and save them, when we can be a friend, we can be a spouse, we can be a parent, but we cannot be the savior. And so, yes, the motivation for a boundary always has to be love, seeking the other person's highest good as they seek your highest good as well. So the motivation should be love. But part of love is good communication. Part of love is honesty. Part of love is being patient and kind. And if we allow so many boundary violations that it wears us down to the worst version of ourselves, then we'll be guilty of doing the exact opposite of what God's definition of love should be.